Alright guys, welcome back to VALORANT. These massive games went down in the Americas last night with huge results indeed. Sentinels played G2 in a crazy game with Babybay coming in for the G2 team, and Sentinels trying to get a victory that they need to get if they want to qualify for the World Championship for sure at the end of their season. They get the win, but in far from an easy format for the Sentinels fans. And then 100T versus NRG. Kess's first game in the lineup since getting rid of Boostio, as we've seen over the last couple of days. This seems to be a change that maybe will be paying off already. Very much interested in your thoughts in the comments. Hit the like button if you enjoy. Subscribe if you're new as always, I greatly appreciate it. We'll dive straight into what's been happening in the Pacific and, well, the other regions over the last couple of days. We did just see that result, the Talon beat Zeta Division yesterday, so that was, made official after the 13-5. It was then a 13-6 on the bind. That series didn't go any further than that. The other results, really, we saw Edward Gaming go down to Trace Esports, was Wolves get battered again. So, yeah, they lost to XLG 2-0, and, well, it's all falling apart for Wolves, and very quickly indeed. The question for many of us is kind of like, well, why is it all falling apart for Wolves? It doesn't feel very long ago they were out in Toronto putting on a show, putting on a clinic, making it top 3 of the tournament. Sentinels beat them, but after that they went on a serious run. Maybe these guys are just international land merchants, who knows, but it's a remarkable turn of events, right? And look, XLG, they also won their region earlier, like in the stage, so it's not like XLG are slouches, and it feels like anyone could do anything right now in China. Like, it's impossible to call right now, but the Haven was 39, and the Lotus that was Wolves' pick, they then lost 13-8, and which is pretty bad, really. So, yeah, I wonder what Sufal had to say, if he did any tweets about it on the timeline, because I know that he was tweeting a couple of things with, his frustrations. Yeah, he says today's the worst birthday for me, and yeah, that's basically all he said. It was a couple of days ago. So, obviously, Wolves want to fix the issue, but the problem is, over there in China, that we'll probably see right about now, is that, yeah, Wolves are going to be struggling for points. So right now, based on their result in Toronto, they have 9 points, right? So Wolves are still holding on for dear life, but that may not last for long, and certainly won't last forever if this continues, right? Because every win domestically is another point. So, yeah, Edward are sitting at 10, Wolves at 9. Feels pretty inevitable that Edward will still go to the World Championship, but, if Wolves do not improve quickly, they will not be going, because there's no way that recent evidence will be able to maintain what they have shown. XLG at 9, Billy at 8, Trace at 5, like, it's all going on. To qualify in the Chinese region, it's like so much all to play for. In the Americas, we know that G2 already long qualified. There's no way that two teams can overhaul their 19 current points they have. Paper Rex looking good, Fnatic, of course, looking good as well. I will say in the Pacific, it's also very much all to play for. Actually, the other big result that I forgot to mention, because I thought we'd already talked about it, I don't think we had, was RRQ. They beat Gen.G in remarkable fashion again. So, I don't know what it is with RRQ, but their matches, like, they fell off big time, and then they played Gen.G and they beat them again. So it's like, what's going on there, right? Like, what is the Pacific never fails to just confuse and confound. But yeah, RRQ, we were like, oh, Tahoe merchants, these guys are going to be terrible now. Then I played Gen.G, one of the best teams in the world, and they beat them, no issue. They're back. Monyet just decides to deliver a generational performance again. They then lost their pick on the Ascent, and then they won the Haven 13-11 with a great second side. So, crazy stuff, really. I thought that Gen.G went down in this way, and if you look at RRQ's, like, runs and their performances in their matches, again, like, you'll see that, they pretty much lost to everyone, but in the Grand Finals of the Pacific, they beat Gen.G. Since then, of course, they went to Toronto, lost to Wolves, lost to Fnatic. They were losing to everyone at EWC, pretty much, apart from a best-of-1 against TEC, and now they beat Gen.G again domestically after losing to Global Esports. So, yeah, crazy stuff. Never ceases to confuse that region, and as a result of things, you have so many teams that could qualify for champs in the Pacific. It's actually kind of crazy. In the Americas, though, we're going to get to right about now, and that's where Sentinels came to play last night, although maybe didn't play as cleanly as some of their fans would have liked to have seen. But the teams that did play were 100 Thieves and NRG. So NRG, interesting team, because when this team was formed, when they got rid of FNS, I was like, well, I didn't really massively like the change. I felt like it would maybe help them just because FNS, of course, was struggling. It felt like the team was kind of lacking some confidence in his leadership, and they decided that they were going to get rid of him and make the changes that they elected to do. And then they did pretty well on NRG, right? They qualified for the World Cup, they made it out there to Riyadh, and then they got there and they were pretty lackluster and eventually went down. But 100T, they went to Riyadh as well. They also qualified. They turned up to Riyadh and they bombed out of the tournament very early on. But a very different story on this occasion. So this was Kess's first series, debuting with 100T. They've had a couple of days of practice. Xander in game. I mean, look, I said yesterday that I liked this change. I think it was a change that was worth making. I think the timing of it was interesting to make it like literally a couple of days before they were due to play a series, like after the World Cup, and deciding that they were going to call it a day with the roster and with Boostio in general. But moving Xander to the in-game leader, I don't mind that idea at all. And, well, first evidence is rather good, because they played this NRG team with Scuba, Ethan, Brook, Som and Marder, and absolutely annihilate them. 13-10 on the binds, and then the Sunset was 13-4 on their pick, right? This was, now, okay, if you're NRG, how do you prepare for a 100T team that you have no idea what they're going to do? What maps they're good at with Kess, who knows? It's obviously difficult. But still, they had like 2 days of practice. And they turn up here, Kess goes 33-22 over the series with the highest rating technically in the lobby, and just has no issue putting down this NRG team. So that was very impressive. And as Zik says, who will be feeling already pretty vindicated about this decision right now, insane debut, altogether a great match as a team, played to the proper pacing to punish their mistakes, 3 days of practice and we look like that. So, you know, we'll see if it's a speak too soon one from this on 100T and how far they could maybe go, because like they're trying to qualify for champs at the end of the day. We saw those numbers a second ago, 100T right now at 3 points. So it is a challenge for 100T, not to say it's impossible, but it is a challenge in the second stage. They have to make a serious run if they want to qualify for this World Championship, and yeah, not to say that it's impossible by any means. They could do so, but it's obviously going to be an uphill battle for them. But as Asuna says, great start for Stage 2, insane debut by Kess, happy to get a convincing win. Let's keep on going with this momentum, and as Kess says, best debut I could ask for. He played really well, the team played really well, even Asuna was talking about the Odin, so you know, maybe there's some even other strats they're pulling out. Not to say that we didn't necessarily see it from Kess on occasion on the binds, but, you know, just to say that maybe there are some more ideas in the works there for that team. And 100T are saying, look, we didn't even practice and we're at this level. So, yeah, I think it shows an awful lot of promise. I tend to think that in the Valorant world, just in esports in general, really, you tend to get a glimpse relatively early whether the team is capable of something. Like, teams, it's pretty rare that a team is formed, they're bad, and then they just keep grinding it out as a team and they just get better and better. Now, not to say that you can't get better and better playing more and more together as a team, but the point is that you tend to see glimpses of what a team is capable of relatively early on. And I think this is a good sign for 100T as to what they could do this year. The other game, though, which in many respects was more interesting, was Sentinels versus G2. Now, I will say, G2 have not got much to play for. They've qualified for champs already. It's not the end of the world. Bringing in Babybay, keeping up the energy while Leaf works on his recovery, and presumably they're going to bring him back in as soon as they possibly can. But Babybay, absolute unk status, and, you know, obviously look at the kills, events casted, and I thought it was pretty funny what they put together last night. But actually, Babybay did a rather solid job. He picks up the chamber, starts to deliver a serious performance, right? And all of a sudden, Sentinels are getting a little concerned about, you know, what's going to be happening with their team, because, you know, it looked like they were under the cosh absolutely massively. Now, Leaf decided to return to the timeline, having not said anything in days, and was now tweeting about the game, no Neon, no win, you know, Rosa ult to a deadlock, and, you know, no, what a blunder. And then, of course, unfortunately, they went down in the end. But it was very close fought affair series, right? And the game one Corrode, Sentinels playing this for the first time, they took the win there 13-8, a map that maybe they're going to rather like in due course. Babybay on the Vice was 7-17, and it's like, oh, well, you know, here we go. It's maybe not looking so good, but then game 2, the Ascent, 13-6, the bounce back. Babybay picks up the chamber, respectable job, you know, nothing crazy, but did a respectable job. Trent ended up taking over. Zekken had a difficult game too. And then the game 3 Decider the Lotus could very much so have got either way. I mean, this was an overtime that Sentinels brought it back after, going down 8-4 at the half. They brought it back with a 8-4 of their own half to make it to 14-12. And then Valorant and Jorgamo kind of took over. Babybay had a difficult conclusion to the map. But it was really Zekken and Zelsys that kind of turned the game around for them here, and eventually Sentinels get the win. But it was far from a clean win, and they'll definitely look at this thinking, damn, we played G2 for the first time. They literally had Babybay in their team, and we struggled to get past him. So, it's obviously frustrating, I'm sure, for G2 to lose in such a close manner. But as Valin says, probably the most fun official match that I've ever played. My GOAT Babybay brings the vibes. NRG's a big reason why, we made it close. On to the next one. So I still think that G2, given the talent they've got, could be a bit of a threat with Babybay. But the reality is they're going to want Leaf back in as soon as they possibly can. Sentinels fans will not have watched that and said, wow, we're back, right? We're making a run towards the World Championship. But at the end of the day, the win is the win. You take the one championship point, you get out of there. And obviously, Frost actually was giving a bit of gas to Zelsys, saying that was a 10-2 half for G2. If not for your heroics, he definitely made some big plays to help them stay alive on the Lotus, which eventually they did. And as he says, very close series. We did a bit of throwing, they did a bit of catching, and Babybay says, GG's, it was an amazing game. So we'll see. Exciting. I think it was cool from Zelsys to really have some great performances to keep them alive in the game, and then Zekken took over when it mattered as well. And as he says, damn, that was quite the series. So lots I think to take away from a number of these different teams, but what a weekend of matches in the Americas, and plenty more drama to come, I am sure. Just a couple of quick scrimbucks. Lev were playing somebody or another. They were up 6-0, so we'll see if that translates on the next week of games. Giant X are up 15-1 on someone or another. K were down 5-16. Vitality drawing 7-7. So just some early scrimbucks really going into the second weekend of games, but plenty happened over the last few days. Very much into your thoughts in the comments. Hit the like button if you enjoyed. Subscribe if you're new. Take care, and I'll see you next time.